slide, but this is kind
That's
of a...
okay. That's okay.
So.
All right, we are recording. Good evening. My name is Steve Canode. It says Charles, but I go by my middle name, Steve. And Dr. John McKeeby is also here, and he's the lead instructor on the course. So I'm going to let him take it from there. So let me switch to share my screen and switch over to PowerPoint. And, well, PowerPoint. There we go. And I'll let you take over, John, if you want.
Okay.
Everybody
So
see that slide, I hope?
Yep, I see it. Hopefully the students see it. Please use this chat if you're a student so we can follow your questions. This is Data 670. There's two sections, Dr. Canode's as well as my section. We'll go over the NASA in the air and at the end of the slides because we talk about that. This course is your final course. It's your capstone type course. You can go to the next slide. So it's a capstone class. We're going to define a problem, or you are going to define a problem to solve or analyze. You're going to develop a project scope to analyze the problem, define the analytics approach. You're going to express the problem in context of statistical and machine learning techniques. You're going to justify the selection of data sets for the investigation of the problem, evaluate the results of the examination of the data sets, develop predictive or descriptive models, evaluate the models, deploy and refine the model, and then assess model performance. Next slide. We want you to use all the knowledge that you've gotten from all the data analytics classes. You've learned a lot about many things, right? You've learned predictive models, descriptive models, big data sets, using R, using Tableau, using Watson. You've learned a lot of little things to help you on your road of data analytics. And now it's time to pull it all together. And so this is a one-semester individual project. You're basically the lead of a data analytics team for a company, and you are going to select the problem, the data sets, and the tools. You can use any tool you want. There's lists here. We will have a Tableau license for you from the other classes. Some of your licenses still exist, still available. And I have two templates, actually three now, on how you would complete the problem or the project. One is basically a guide with multiple sections. One follows the CRISP data mining format. And then the third one is, since we have students doing internships with either NASA or AIR, last semester we had a Watson competition, I created a third option that, in case it doesn't really fit into a data set and problem review type format. So there's three options for your written project work. You'll have peer review groups. They're used to consult and critique your projects. Week 4, you're going to meet with your group, and then you're going to critique each other, give each other information. We'll talk about that format in a future slide. And then week 12, we've added a new discussion where we all can present, or whoever wants to present can present their project that we can make available to future students. And so we can make sure we share. Next slide. So the peer review group, students will be divided into groups 3 or 4. If you want to send me names that you want to be in your group, you can do that for anybody in my section. Dr. Canode, is that all right with you as well?
Sure. If it works out without too much of a hassle, I'm willing to do that.
So I usually tell them by the end of week 1, they give me names. Otherwise, I start assigning groups. Each member of the group will act as an advisor as you work through the project. The use of groups will allow members to learn about the project and how other people are thinking about their problems. It's a peer review. So it's not a group project, it's peer review groups to help people give them insights or tell them of things that you've learned, what they've learned. It's how you can share across each other. Next slide. We do have two opportunities. One is American Institutes of Research. The other is NASA. And in the past, both of them had 2 to 3 slots. We'll offer them across both sections. I'll need the resume as soon as we get back from them. I've sent them emails on Sunday and today to make sure they're still interested. Then we'll review the problems and projects with them. We'll have a session sometime next week during the day, and then they can identify what's available, and then you can attend that, or as well as listen to the recording and see if you want to apply, and then I need your resume to kind of share with them. For AIR, you basically become an employee. That's why they need your resume. It's an internship. It's not paid, but they need to put you on their HR process routine for anybody that's doing an internship. Next slide. NASA, this is a description of the project. They have everything that's open to the whole public, so you could do a NASA project and not meet with them. The benefit of meeting with Brian is he is a data scientist, and as part of working on the project, you're available to him, and he'll mentor you along the way. He likes to meet on Fridays for half an hour to review where you are. He is not going to spoon feed you. He's going to tell you, this is the tools, this might be scripts that we have. It's all on you to take it, but then you can ask him any questions you have along the way. He's very, that's his life, right? He's a data scientist, and many of you strive to be data scientists, and so it's a great opportunity that we have been able to provide, and hopefully we can do this semester too. Next slide. This is another problem from NASA. So he basically provided 2 or 3 generic problems, and like I said, everything that's available to you is available to the public. It becomes a little dicey for them to share stuff that's sensitive. So everything's available to you that's on the public, but he's looking for different ways that people can approach it, and they might find something very useful. Next slide. So AIR, some of their projects are early grade reading assessments, geospatial visualization. You can go to the next slide. School improvements. Last term, we had 3 students that basically worked on a project together, and that's where option 3 came from. So the issue was they not necessarily all did data analytics. One did the ETL process, one wrote up the evaluation, one wrote up the analytics portion. So as a team, they completed the project. And since we have this internship type of process, that's how I allowed a third rubric for the assignments. Next slide. So week 2, there's a project selection. You should have your data set. You should know your approach. You should know the business problem that you're trying to analyze or trying to solve. And so that's due week 2. Week 4 is the analytic approach. How you're going to approach solving the problem that you identified in week 2. Project status presentation is week 5. You define the project scope and analytic approach, and you'll present it to your group. Then we have the data compilation is week 7, and so that's your data analysis execution plan. And then data understanding, that's your data analysis report. That's due week 8. Can you go to the next slide? And then we have analysis evaluation, that's due week 10, your final presentation, and your final report. And like I said, we added another presentation as part of this as well. So the presentations in many groups Some of them use PowerPoint with audio and pass them around and share them. Some people have used GoToMeeting or WebEx or Google Hangout, and then they all got online and then they presented them and recorded the whole thing as kind of a webinar, and then they critiqued each other as part of the review. Regardless of how you do it, you do need to provide a critique of all those that you saw in your group. There is a template for the presentations. They are out there in the discussions. So I have a discussion called Project Expectations. And in that is examples of everything that you can think of for this course. So it has the rubrics, it has examples of assignment 1 and assignment 2 right now. It will have examples of all the assignments at some point. It has data sets that you can look at. I also have a do not do this problem discussion because I've seen it 3 or 4 times, and I'm not sure I will see anything new, but I don't want, when you put it through Turn It In Now, there will be a lot of similarities between everything that you find. So there's 3 or 4 that I'm asking students not to do. Can you go to the next slide, just so there are discussions, and the discussions are grouped together. So week 1 and 2 are graded as one item. There are discussions for week 1. There's discussion for week 2. I also, for each week, will ask you for statuses to know where you are on your project. I want to make sure you are working through the project, right? It's very easy to get behind, and it's very easy to make it so you have to do it all at the end. You cannot do that. This is a 6-credit course. It expects the amount of effort based on those number of credits. And so it is a lot of work. It's very difficult to catch up at the end. And so we'll have statuses. Week 3 and 4, they're grouped together. Week 5 is the presentation. There is no discussion, but I do ask for a status to make sure you're doing well. Week 6 and 7, there's just 2 discussion questions, as well as the status for each week. Next slide. And then weeks 8, 9, and 10, and 11, they're grouped separately as well. And then week 12 is just general questions that you have about anything left. And so we group them together, and then we'll grade them together. So week 1 and 2, we grade after week 2. Week 3 and 4, we grade after week 4. And so that's one thing that you should expect. We are looking for at least 3 posts per week. I actually looking for more than 3. 4 to me is the minimum, but I'm looking for more than 4. It's very important that you all are involved and participate with each other, and the discussion is one avenue for that. Next slide. To date, we've completed maybe more than 4 semesters, and then we're in this semester. I've had 6 students work with NASA over the semesters. 5 worked with AIR. 1 was hired actually by AIR. Last semester, a group worked together, so 3 worked together last semester. We have seen that not all students like the idea of determining your own project. Not all students are versed in all the tools, and so you can use this as an opportunity to learn a tool that you didn't feel that you covered to the level that you wanted to. And we see that most students want to be a data analyst or a data scientist in their career. So this is that stepping stone. Next slide. This is the discussion board that I was talking about, project expectations. There's templates, there's rubrics for each of the assignments. There's a list of all the assignments. There's rubrics for the assignments as well as the discussion. There's data sets. There's examples of previously done assignments. And so that is the place you should go to uh, understand what's expected to you for the project completion. Next slide. That might be the last
I
slide.
think that's the last one, John.
Yep. So some of the questions that we've had in the past is, if I have a project and it doesn't seem to pan out, when can I change ideas? You can change ideas at any time. Typically, if you change your idea, it should be before week 4. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult to redo all the items from weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4. I don't regrade those, but you still need them as the base for the next week. And so if you don't have a firm idea by week 4, it really is hard to change direction. We also get the question of, can I do a project based on work? As long as your work agrees to it, we are totally fine with that. We like those. It helps you. It helps the place that you're working for. One thing that we need to know is, can it be shared, right? So many times I share the assignments with future classes so they know what's going on. I've had 3 students in the past tell me we could share it with the group, with your peer group, but I couldn't share it to the class or future classes. That's fair. We just need to know about that. You do have to make sure work will allow you. So I've had 2 students that were fully intent of doing a project at work, and then when they shared that with their supervisors and legal got involved, then the decision was they really couldn't do that for work. So you need to check it on your side to make sure it's possible. This is a fun course. It is about discipline. Each week you need to work on your project and the discussions and have the set time. There's a lot expected of you because it's a 6-credit course. So think about your project when you're thinking about a 6-credit course. If your data set only has 1,000 rows, it's probably not going to fulfill all the requirements of the project. And so you really should review the project rubrics. There is no set number of rows. There's no set number of models, but you really should review the rubrics to make sure you can complete everything with the problem and the data set that you selected. So that's all I have. Dr. Cano, do you have some insight that you can add? Did we lose you? Hello? Can everybody still hear me?
Hello. Hello.
Okay.
I'm
Do you have
here.
some insight you want to share with us?
Oh, okay. You can hear me now?
In and out. In and out.
In and out. Let me make sure my mic is turned up. I think it is. I was just going to say, if you do a good job, I don't see the little talk bubble next to my. No, maybe you can hear me better now. Let me see. Let me try audio.
Still a little rough.
Can you hear me yet? I'm speaking. Can anyone? There we go. I see the little talk bubble now. My only advice would be, if you do a really good job on this, and of course you have to pass the course, but I'm talking about this should be something that you could put in your portfolio as evidence that you're ready to take on the challenge of being a data scientist. So you really want to have this be as complete a project as possible. When you're a data scientist, you have to do more than just crunch a few numbers. You have to, as John was saying, you have to define the problem. Then you have to say, here's the approach I'm going to take. You have to be able to find a good data set that will help address the problem. You have to conduct whatever data preparation, cleansing, etc. You have to be able to build the requisite and compare the requisite models. You have to be able to glean some takeaways, some conclusions, some summary items from that, and some recommendations, whether it be for, here's some additional things we should do, or here's what we should do to change procedures, etc. That's the complete analysis. We did a little bit of that in Data 640, but this is your chance to say, I can do the complete thing. And of course, data visualization comes into there. Descriptive models come into there. All of those things come into there. So My advice would be really take this on as something you want to put in your portfolio and add to your resume so that when you're out there looking for a job and somebody says, well, how do I know you can do this? Say, let me show you what I did. Because this is really part and parcel of that whole competency-based approach that our program was built on and that UMUC is moving to for all programs. We want you to be able to do things. Now, again, you've had a lot of tools throughout the courses you've taken. As John was saying, you get to pick which tools you want to use, but certainly you want to make sure you use tools that you understand, and if you don't, you need to spin up and refresh yourself on those. You need to make sure you're clear as to what you're doing and that we understand it. We want the peer groups to be a good sounding board, not just, oh, that looks great, that looks great, that looks great, but provide suggestions, provide insights, provide additional areas that might need some additional help. So take advantage of the course. This is a unique opportunity for you to sort of have a trial by fire, if you will, before you actually go out in the real world where there's nothing but trials by fire. So this should be a really good opportunity for you. And, of course, John and I, and there's also want to mention there's a couple of TAs working in this course too, teaching assistants who have expertise, tremendous. The one I have looks like he has tremendous expertise, and I don't know if that's the same one you're using, John, or not. But you know, you've got some resources here. When you get in any kind of trouble or difficulty, be sure to ask for some assistance. We don't want anybody falling behind. We don't want anybody not succeeding. This is your capstone course. This is your last course, and we want to make sure you're successful in it. So be sure to keep up, as John said. Be sure to ask questions when you have problems. Be sure to interact. As you know from the rubric, a substantial portion of your grade is based on the discussions. So we have some marks in there, some milestones that you need to make sure you meet. And again, if you run into a problem, there's always an opportunity to regroup. But the sooner you can get started and frame what it is you're going to do, the better. That would be my advice. I've done this course just once before with John's help, so I'm comfortable with the material. But it's basically an idea where we are coaches / helpers / assistants, because we're not going to be lecturing every week with new stuff. I think now we could open it up to questions. I already have one. Jonathan says, I came in late. Is it possible to curate our own data sets to do GraphDB, NLP, natural language processing analyses from the web? Also, do we have access to paid tools such as so many server hours on AWS, Amazon Web Services, or Bluemix? I don't know the answer to the Bluemix question. Certainly you have access to most of the software, well, all the software you've used in the courses. I'll have to ask about the Bluemix. You still have access to Watson Analytics. You still have access, of course, you have Python and R. You still have access, or will have, to Tableau. You still have your access to SAS Enterprise Miner, same login you used before. If you have any trouble with any of those, we can help you. I'll have to ask about the Bluemix.
So yeah, Tableau will provide you the license key. Courses that you've had already that you still have your licenses for, we do not have server hours on AWS or Bluemix.
Okay.
You can use any trials you want. Make sure that they end after the class so you can complete all your work. You can curate your own data sets, but please review the rubric to make sure you can complete everything in the rubrics and everything in the final documentation as part of any data set that you're creating. I think of this course as an experiment. All data analytics, you don't know what you're going to find. So it might not be perfect, and you might not find a model that purely defines your data problem. However, you will learn a lot going through the process. And so the course really is learning through that journey that you're taking in this course and in that project. So it might not be the perfect data set, but that doesn't mean it's not a great project. And so think of that as part of the process that you're going through. This is all supposed to be a learning process, and you'll learn through this project.
John, you want to answer the question? I see it on the screen. When should we submit resumes and who to? I guess to you. You're handling the interface with AIR and NASA. If they're interested in those.
For the resumes for either NASA or AIR, please send them to me. That would be great. I'm still waiting on them to get back to us, and as soon as I do, I'll send you a time where they can review their projects with us as a group. I've had students use every tool. I get concerned when students are trying to do R for NASA and don't know R, or Python and don't know Python, because they're looking for you to complete something, and they're not looking to you. They don't want to be your tech support. However, you do have a TA that will help you with R and Python and some other items. So students have excelled in everything. So there's not a silver bullet or one tool. Everybody's used, I've had students use Watson, Python, R, Tableau, SQL Server itself, you name it, they've used the tool.
Andrew, you do have access, well, everybody, you should still have your access to SAS Enterprise Miner with the same login you used in your Data 640 course. If you have trouble with that, let me know. We answered the question earlier about picking your team members, or are they assigned. If you submit to John or I, depending on which section you're in, members you'd like to have on your team, we will try to accommodate that.
I like by week 2, so if I don't hear by the Sunday that starts week, or Monday that starts week 2, I start assigning groups. Please, if you're going to pick a group, make sure those people do want a group with you. It helps me that it's one email that says, we agreed that we'll have these 3 people or these 4 people. No more than 4, please. It makes it too difficult for you and for me.
Very good. That's a great idea. Any other questions we can answer tonight? The course doesn't really officially start till Monday, but certainly that's good to get this overview going and get everybody aware of what the course entails. I always find it useful to do that. And I believe we're going to have another session next Wednesday to either answer questions after you get into the material or deal with any other kinds of issues. Is that correct, John?
Next week will be the same material as this week. I like to do it a little beforehand so you have some expectations walking into week 1 if you want to. I did post the same recording that we did last year. It's the same material, just a few slides are updated with newer information. But the project has not changed since its conception. It's evolved. The base is still there.
Both John and I do have full sections. I'm sure if you haven't yet logged into the websites for your section, you should, and especially get started on some of those things in the discussion area that Dr. McKeeby mentioned. They're very helpful to look at the templates, look at the sources for data sets, and think about things even early in the program so you can start coming around to what you're going to do as you begin to frame that. So be sure to log in at least. You can even put in a little bio or something like that. But we want to make sure everybody doesn't have any trouble accessing and or seeing what the layout is for the entire course, so we can get that out of the way and get into actual hard work of the course. Any other questions tonight? I don't see any showing up on my screen. Thank you, Greg. Greg found a link to some AWS time at $100. I'm not sure how many hours that buys you, but maybe it's enough for for what we need to do. I know it's a very popular service, but I don't have much familiarity with it myself. Anything else before I stop the recording? again, you'll have more questions, but remember, you can do those next week after you digest some of the material. We'll be back to do that. Okay. It's definitely enough for us. Just don't leave a service like EC2 running. Okay, great. Jonathan must have some experience with it. Okay. EC2 running small servers on AWS costs about 12 cents an hour. Okay, great. Thank you for that information. That might be something that would be interesting to add to your repertoire. We don't cover that in any of the courses, I don't think, but it might be something good. Okay, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Remember, we'll have another session next week, so after you begin to look at some of the materials and anything that's puzzling you or stumping you or you need more clarification on, both John and I will be available. You should get the information about the WebEx for next, I believe it's next Wednesday at the same time, so it'll be the 7 o'clock again. We'll make sure that information is available to you either through email or posting in the classroom. And we'll be here to answer questions and review the bidding then. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And, of course, I will send